This is the Escape Podcast for Star Wars The Old Republic. This week, nothing's happening, so we're going to read verbatim from the help screens in the game. No, we are not going to do that. Update V.X was announced in detail on today's live stream, and we are going to dig into that for quite a while tonight. It was quite a meaty live stream. They seem to have a ton of fun with it, so we're going to have our own fun going through what they talked about, and the hype is real. This broadcast astromech is EPC 262. And playing alongside me is Sima. Hi, Sima. How is it going?
Hey, Max. It's going really well. Like you, I watched the live stream this afternoon. There was a lot of stuff in it, but let me just start by saying this week, we're recording on Thursday night. Tuesday night, we had our MFN, and we continued something we started I think about a month ago on the pub side, which is we started the process of going after the HK-51 companion. And so this week we went around looking for parts. We went to the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. We went to all the places we hadn't been. And then we broke up into groups and did the flashpoints. And so just about everyone got almost to the very end of that HK process. A few people have some catching up to do with having to find some parts that they didn't have previously, but it was really it was a fun night, way funner than trying to do that on your own, I would say.
Yeah, it was.
And then in our own ops team, we were missing some people, so we just we went and did Lost Island to get because we were missing an achievement.
Oh, is that
oddly enough?
Okay.
Yeah. Fawn, one of our guildies, was missing a particular achievement, which turned out to be getting the bonus boss in Veteran Lost Island. We didn't know exactly why he didn't have the Lost Island credit, but apparently that was it, because as soon as we killed him, the achievement popped up. And, that's worth... That gave him Flashpoint Master, which is worth a cool 20 cartel coins. So
nice. You can get that.
Like Fawn said, that's a hairdo right there.
Chilled Corellian cocktail right there. Nothing.
But it was fun.
Better.
And I actually realized I don't have credit for Can Under Siege and one other. I know I've done them all multiple times, but I guess you have to do the right version or something. I don't know. But yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, I've got
to go do some more of that.
The only one I have at 100% for whatever reason is Colicoid War Games. Oh, because they don't have a master mode and things like that. So that's part of the issue. Great. Well, I did a lot of things this week as well. I think between 2 and 3 characters to Conquest target. That was awesome. Guild we hit large, right? Yeah, we hit large. The week was the last week. The week was a blur. HK part hunting. We used some search strategies and found the parts relatively quickly. Doing that with a bigger group is always recommended. We didn't use maybe the most optimal search patterns, as Lucy sort of explained to me, but it was easy. My strategy still worked. It was fine. I gave everybody
our strategy was go all over the place and yell Serpentine as we ran.
Play the Benny Hill music and then just run around and around and around. Right. No. But we did get all of those parts for everybody that had started the few weeks back when we started on the Republic side. So that was cool. Did a bunch of other things this week. I don't even remember all the things we did. I joined in for a couple kills and explosive conflict. Oh, so I joined last night. They needed a sub just for like the last 20 minutes. One of our ops teams needed a sub because somebody had to drop. So I went in there. We were doing explosive conflict. They just had like 15 minutes to get a couple bosses down. We killed the tanks. Fine. We went to the minefield. Fine. Okay, well, let's do the minefield. We're going fast because we're trying to clip along. We get through the minefield and we're fighting the end boss and we're like, this place is bugged. What is going on? All the turrets are still up and now the turrets are enraged and there's still ads from the minefield that keep chasing us down. Well, we hadn't clicked on that console.
So the first part of the encounter thought it was still going.
So yes, we wiped. So that was the end of that night. But I thought that was hilarious. So that was good.
Speaking of Benny Hill music.
Yes. But yeah, lots of that kind of fun stuff going on in the game. But that's not what we're here to talk about tonight. We'll talk a little bit about some news, and then we'll get into the meat of the podcast tonight, which will be that V.X update that we heard all about.
Now, an Imperial News Network report.
So yeah, general game news from BioWare or from Star Wars The Old Republic in general is nothing else besides the update. So we're going to save it for that part.
Yes, we're going to talk about the updates after the news.
What do we got going on in the guild news, though, Sima?
I don't know, Max. What do we have going on?
Oh, I copied that down. Did you copy it back?
Yes.
Well, apparently. But then
I crack myself up.
Wow, it's going to be one of those podcasts tonight, isn't it?
Yes, I changed the notes so that the topic that he gave to me, I gave it back to him.
Yes. So apparently we have a few things that we do in our guild. One is once a week we do a fun thing called Mandatory Fun Nights every Tuesday night. It's open. We'll invite a bunch of people, as many people as we can fit. Sometimes it's a 16-man operation. Sometimes, like for HK, it was finding those parts for whoever was in the middle of that quest, and as many people that can join. We do data crowns. We do world bosses. That's one thing. The second thing we do that was started up a few months back by Marcus, one of our officers, is our monthly guild events. So that's our mega monthly excellent guild activities. I forgot what that stands for. So our mega events is once a month.
Epic.
There's one for October coming up. We don't have the date or details of that finalized, mostly because Marcus is going to be down for the count, and we are going to be running it. And as such, we have been slacking off. And as Sima said earlier, we suck. So we don't have that nailed down yet. But it'll come towards the end of the month. It's going to have some Halloween party theme associated with it, and you'll see details on that soon.
Real soon now.
Something else coming up then just after the end of the month in more of community news is the Extra Life charity marathons are going to be starting. And on November 3rd, the 5th year of the Extra Life charity by Unholy Alliance Guild team and Wookiee Alliance with Passionately Casual podcast is going to be redoing their annual version of Extra Life charity marathon. And it will include a special event where they reproduce a classic television game show with special guests, hopefully some personalities maybe from BioWare, maybe, we don't know exactly yet, and then maybe a couple people from the community. I'm going to be on it this year, so be sure you turn into that and support Extra Life Charity because it's a really cool thing.
Yes, it is.
What else, Sima?
Also coming up.
This is yours, Sima. This one has your name next to it, Sima. You talk now.
All right. So also coming up in the first part of November is SWTOR Unite, which is a group of podcasters that are getting together to have some fun and stream some SWTOR. Specifically, we're going to be doing Gods from the Machine Operation. That is the plan. So it's either going to be smooth like butter or hilarious. I'm not sure which. I'm thinking probably hilarious. Many thanks to Dr. SWTOR and for Marcus putting this together and driving it and making it happen and doing all the cat herding. So basically be there or be square.
Yeah, that should be pretty fun. It's 16 podcasters that they've collected up, which is most of the podcasters out there that are available. It's a mix of people who have done it. In fact, a couple of people have done at least parts of it in veteran mode. And then another segment, maybe a third of the people have never done Gods from the Machine. So it's going to be interesting.
Right. Right.
So we shall see how that goes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's going to be good times.
And we've done it. It's just been a few months
since
I did the last fight in there.
Yes, although we did go back in last week for our ops night. I don't know if we did.
That's true, we did.
Did we podcast in between now and then? So no, we went back in there for our ops night just for fun. Yeah. We took at least one new player in there who had never seen the fights before, and he did awesome. One of our new guildies.
Yes, he did.
So he was really fun to bring in there, tell the story, talk through the fights. and fight them through. And we just plowed through it. We did all the way through Nahut. We wiped on Nahut because both he had never done it before, so of course falling through the conduits is a thing that everyone needs to do. And then I don't know, we screwed something else up, but we got through at least through that in the hour and a half that we were playing that night, which was awesome. I like that place. I'm glad to get back in there. We got to start doing it on veteran mode because we're gonna have to do it on master mode, right? As we heard tonight.
Well, yeah, I was just thinking, yeah, we got to do it on veteran mode because they're going to make veteran mode easier.
Yes, in theory. Also, shout out to the chat room. Thank you, everyone that's in there. We got a big crowd in there tonight. Thanks, everybody, for stopping by. I did finally wire up a bot. It doesn't do much tonight, but we will use it for the giveaway after the show tonight. So thanks, everybody, for.
I've been replaced by a bot.
We are all going to be replaced by bots soon. I, for one, welcome our new AI overlords. But with that, we've got a thing to talk about, don't we? And this
It's a thing.
warrants a classic drop in. So
Game changer.
Game changer.
Game changer for
Game changer for the industry.
wow, that was a good dev stream. So it was
Yes,
nice
it
and
was.
long and meaty and talked about content, different kinds of content. It was fun. They seemed to be having fun. I don't know who said, and when we were tossing back and forth in Guild Discord, that it seems like Keith has been a good influence on them because they all seem to be having a lot of fun lately.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they do. And they seem more relaxed and more natural.
right, and that was cool. I liked it.
And there was more Matt this time.
Yes, there was everybody. There was Matt, there was Charles, there was Keith in the beginning. There was Eric right in the center of the video frame the whole time, and then half of each of those extra people, like cut off by the edge of the frame, for the whole
Yep.
whole cast. Wait, here, I've even got it on the next frame.
I mean, it's a style that's how
Yes.
Marcus does his
This is
podcast
it.
too.
Here's
so.
it. This is what it looked like the whole time. Eric right in the middle, and half of Keith. This, that, and so I don't know. Somebody saw that stream earlier. I think Matt, and like pushed Keith over, and they're like, "Oh, you got to scoot over to get in the stream." And Eric's like, "No, it's good, and he pushed him back. Like, what the heck you doing? So everybody was half out of the frame, except for Eric the whole night.
And then part of the time, Charles was kind of peeking in from the other side.
Yeah, they kept the head popping into frame.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was pretty hilarious. So that was that was my overall impression, was that a lot of content, and they seem to be having fun with it, which I appreciated. Rundown of the overview. We're gonna flip through all their slides, but we're mostly just gonna give you our highlights, our feeling of what they talked about. They did the welcome. They did what they told you what we already knew, which I didn't really care all that much about. Then they talked a little bit about what's coming. They talked about Jedi Under Siege, the update in detail. They talked about the story update in detail and some of the story elements that are coming out of that. Once we get to that point, just as they did, it gets a little spoilery, so we'll warn everybody before we get to that in plenty of time. And then they talked about the launch timeline, the PTS timeline, and all of those kinds of things. And then they did some stuff to close it out, which were less interesting as well. But let's jump right in. It's right on the screen. Good. So they did give out, and in fact, I saw it in game. Sima has it already. They did give out a code, SW Cantina 2018, all one word. Type that in on your redeem codes in your account page, and you will get this new flare for your character screen, and a little new flare icon that shows up over your character in the game. So if I zoom
It's nice.
out
It's
here,
gold.
yeah, so there's the little flare icon in the game, and then if I click on Sima, you can see the flare circle over her portrait. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's one of the nicer flares that I've seen. It's It's good because I'm adding it to my collection because I'd really like to get to those 15 pieces of flair, um, because it's about how
Oh
I
my
want to
gosh, that
express
movie
myself. But yeah, so that was pretty cool.
has it's so quotable, that movie.
It is
It
so
applies to
quotable.
every situation in life.
So go get that. Go get that. Then they also talked about, well, they talked about, which they do at the beginning of every stream, which I could sort of see the reason. You got to sort of talk about, hey, we had a good summer so far. We did 5.9.2 and 5.9.3. This is always the boring part of the stream. I always skip past it, so we can skip past it too.
Right. I wandered off during that part.
I went and made a sandwich. I mean, it's fine. I get why they do it, but I sort of feel like it's, we know that we've been living it for the summer. You don't have to go back in time. You don't have to go, okay, in the beginning, there was the Big Bang. Then the Earth was a big swirling ball of gas. And then the dinosaurs came, and then we had coffee and Kotet. No, we don't care. Tell us about what you want to tell us about. So then they got into 5.10 Jedi Under Siege. They kicked it off and pulled in Matt. So they went through. So this was their rundown of everything that they were going to talk about. They kicked it off and they were bringing in Matt. We'll show Matt here in a second, and talked about some stuff going with Gods from the Machine. They talked about the armor stuff, which I'm interested in and excited about for a couple reasons I will certainly mention. They talked about the guild improvements and the guild systems. There's pieces of that I'm excited about as well. And then they talked about more about the planet and the daily area and the story that they're starting, and I was pretty excited about that stuff too. So I was pretty pleased. So in the general rundown, Sima, anything you want to sort of say to kick it off? What did it sort of sound like to you?
You mean like about the well, I was happy that there was a high level of content throughout the whole thing. I was happy that they were having fun and joking around, but it wasn't all joking around and just fun. So
right, it was significant
that's
stuff
my
for each
overall.
of these. It wasn't like a bullet point that was,
Yeah.
Here's a new color crystal going into the cartel market. Let's spend 5 minutes talking about this. There was like none of
Right.
that in this 90 minutes of stream, and that was really cool.
And it was really interesting to hear Matt's perspective on what is the difference between Nightmare mode and Veteran, and what's he aiming for when he tunes it up for Nightmare.
Yes, so let's get into that. Well, one more thing before we get out of that. I liked seeing Keith. I like seeing him on the stream. I saw the comments in guild chat about, hey, who's the old guy? Is that Eric's dad? That kind of thing. Which I think is funny. I'm sure Keith probably thinks it's funny too. But I think Keith has been a good influence. I think it warrants seeing more of Keith in the streams and hearing more of his perspective and getting more of his grown-up perspective in what's going on. So I wish he would have been on the stream longer and talked more about what his philosophy is and what his driving goals are for producing the game.
And Keith has a lot of experience. He's been doing this kind of work all for his entire professional life.
Yes, he's a serious guy. He's done different kinds of things in different industries really for a long time. So it's appreciated to see that kind of thing brought to this game. So then let's talk about Matt, because I also liked seeing Matt. So we were on the PTS when Gods from the Machine was first getting constructed, and we got to interact with Matt a little bit. And I like Matt. I like him. I like what he did with Gods from the Machine. I like the kind of things he talked about and interacted with the community on when he was developing that operation. I like his sadistic, cruel streaks as he's developing it, as he's coming up with mechanics. And then, as you said, Sima, he talked a little bit about what the deal was, and why are they going to tune back veteran mode, and why it was made the way it was, and what the deal is with master modes, and sort of a little bit of the philosophy. So did you have any other comments you wanted to pull out of what Matt was talking about there?
Well, what he said what they're gonna do is they're gonna dial back a little bit on veteran mode, because in his words, it no longer has to do double duty. It doesn't have to be hardmare, like he put it. So since I think it serves two purposes to um, dial back for veteran mode is more people are going to be able to play it, but also it makes a bigger differentiation between vet mode and master mode.
Yes. So I think it was a little bit of a mistake to go the route that they did out of the gate and say, we're just going to do story and veteran, and we're going to make veteran really hard, and we're going to make it all sort of a tier above it. It got them into a corner, and I think that's why they went back on it. I think that's why Keith was saying, let's go ahead. It feels like we sort of messed up there. Let's go ahead and do a master mode. Let's put veteran where it should be. Let's make this in the same pattern as the other operations, because we're going to have more operations in the future, and we're not going to sort of continue it this way. So that's going to be like a weird thing we left there in the middle. So I think that was the right move to say, no, let's do the work. Let's put the master mode in. Let's tune veteran back to where it should be, and allow master mode now to drive a little bit of progression as we finish off the 5.x series and we lead into 6.0. And I think once we get to the gear and the gear progression, I'm going to talk about why I really like that, but I think that was part of this as well.
And this is also the section where they introduced my new favorite saying. When Eric Musco asked Matt, he said, but we weren't going to do nightmare mode. What happened? And Matt said, Keith happened.
Yes. Yeah. And I think you IM'd me during that and said, I expect and hope we hear that phrase more often.
Yes.
Which
I went back in time and IM'd you.
Did you? No, you did.
I installed AIM and...
Yes, you you opened up a socket and you...
Right.
you all right. So yes, Sima snapped me on the twit face, timed me and told me that she liked that phrase. So I hope we hear that again more as well. I hope they do more things because Keith happened, and this is what we're gonna do now. We're gonna do sort of more of the things that everybody likes and more of the right things because Keith says, "Hey, why don't we do the right thing?" So yeah, that was a good idea. They also then talked about, as we said, they're gonna, as part of that, they're going to nerf veteran mode a little bit. We'll just have to see how much they nerf it. I hope that's an interesting part of it. They're going to...
I think he said they're just going to reduce the numbers. Like they're not going to remove mechanics. That's the impression I got.
Okay. So I wonder what the difference in mechanics is going to be between veteran and master, because there are significant mechanics differences between story and veteran right now. And it'll be interesting.
Maybe he'll have bigger feet.
Maybe this robot, Sima, also put a note on the bulletin board, the BBS, about why this robot's feet are so small and why is that weird. What is this robot? I didn't catch that. Who is this? That's not...
I don't know. It's Tiny Foot Robot.
Tiny Foot Man. It's here under Gods from the Sheen, but that's not Nahut. I mean, it kind of looks like Nahut. Maybe it was an early... That's supposed to be Nahut, Corley? I mean, it's kind of, but not really. And are his feet that tiny? Anyway, we're this is gonna go all night.
Oh yes, Rack Evan in chat room reminds us that Matt did mention that the different, like you know what abilities he has and what he can do, but it might come at any time instead of at planned times.
In the master mode, it would be much
in
more
the master mode, right?
The mechanics and anything else they added would be much more reactive. I do remember them saying that, which makes sense. What they're hoping for, or what he's designing it for, is so that there needs to be a high level of coordination. You need to all be in voice for it to be working. And because it's going to be pretty dynamic and stuff's going to be happening, you're going to have people calling things out. I think the best example of that, which I really liked in the old days when we were doing it in the harder modes, was Dread Palace. And in Dread Palace, when you do the Raptus fight, the past and future, That's Raptus. No, that's not Raptus. That's
That's Calpheus.
Calpheus. One group needs to go into the past and one group needs to go into the future. And you can't see what's going on, what the rest of the group is doing. And you have to have a high level coordination and sort of a voice code, a speaking code down. So you can say, okay, the circle in the front right of the throne at the 2 o'clock position, the crystal is lit up. That's the one you got to DPS it really quick, guys. And then the group in the past needs to do that really quick based on the instructions of the group in the future. So it's very reactive, it was very dynamic, and it had to have a lot of coordination that way. So I don't think it's going to be as dramatic as that here, but that's the kind of mechanic where you're going to need control, you're going to need coordination, you're going to need to be calling things out. That makes a lot of sense. And then they also talked about, as part of this, that so balance targets. So this last bullet, when they started talking about balance targets, what they mean by this is that they wanted to bring veteran mode back down so you didn't have to have full 248 with 240 augments to be doing story mode and veteran mode, but they are going to rebalance the gear load for master mode at the highest level of gear in the game as the entry point. So starting with full 248 is what's expected to be getting into master mode. And then he really thinks to be completing master mode, Matt's expectation is most groups are going to need to be pushing into the new 252 gear by the time they're completing master mode Gods from the Machine. That's interesting. And I like that. I like that for a lot of reasons. What do you think, Sima?
Well, yeah.
Do you think
It's
I'm
always
brilliant?
good to
Do you
have
think I'm
a
right?
reason to go after it. Yeah.
I agree. I too think I'm brilliant. No, you're right. It's progression. It's gear progression. This is a reason that we play MMOs. This is the Skinner box. And this is the way to drive gear progression, which is you put an operation in, you put some set of content in where starting the content starts to give you the gear that you're going to need to finish that content. That's not the only way that you're going to get this gear is by running it, but that's going to be the fastest way to get it. And you're going to be wanting to get that gear along the way to be able to get through the rest of that content. I'm glad they're going back to that. I'm glad they're thinking about that. It's a good, in my mind, it's a good model to have a reason to think about progression and be RPG-ish about how you're approaching the game, in my view. What about your view, Sima?
Yes. Well, I think it's good that there's a reason for that gear to be out there so that we can have it and be overgeared when we do veteran.
Yes, that's the other thing. So we're going to do it. Yeah. We're going to get the gear not by going through master mode progression.
Right.
We're going to get the gear in all the non-progression ways, and then we're going to use that gear so we can just get through veteran and be proud of ourselves.
Right.
So there's that. And we'll talk about that gear in just a second too. But they went through testing of Gods from the Machine. The original testing for Gods from the Machine was closed testing. The rest of the testing for Gods from the Machine, as they put in the veteran and master mode, is all going to be open. And Matt said they're doing builds. They're going to have that PTS open pretty soon, and you're going to be able to get in there, and you're going to be able to see it, and you're going to be able to see what it's like to get into testing progression content like that. They outlined, and you can go through this in detail or listen to the stream, but they outlined some of the cool things that are on Odessin, which is where we are. So we're standing right here on Odessin for the stream tonight for this reason. Sima,
right.
Standing pretty close to the edge there, Sima.
I win.
What happens when you get to Odessin on the PTS is usually right over here. It might not be. It might be somewhere else, but they're usually right over here, right on the main entry point where you zone into Odessin on the platform between the outside the cantina and outside your Odessin base. They have a couple terminals and they have some droids set up, and those terminals will give you. There's a terminal that gives you credits, and every time you click on it, it gives you another 500,000 credits. So you just click on it all day if you felt like you really needed millions and millions of credits for whatever testing you wanted to do. And the other thing is there will be a droid for each of the tiers of gear. They are not going to put tier 5, the new the higher than 248 levels out just yet, because Matt wants to see people doing this in 248 gear. But if you don't have full 248 gear with 240 augments yet, there's going to be a droid. It's going to be out there. You can click on it. You can give yourself a full set of 248, full set of 240 augments. And then they talked about a couple other things that I thought were interesting. They're adding a components vendor, which they didn't have in the past. I never saw. So you can even be min-maxing by components at the 248 level. And then Matt also, just on a throwaway, he said, oh yeah, and there's a vendor out there for like stims and consumables and grenades. And he said grenades. So I made an extra point of making a note of grenades. Do like master mode progression groups use grenades in progression content? Is this a pro tip that we need to
I know
to
they
discover?
used to.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't know if it's still a thing.
Like on the Tithe fight, are we supposed to be like throwing grenades at the Guardian droids to keep them stunned and off the healers?
I don't know. I mean, Cyber used to be able to make permanent grenades.
Yes, reusable.
I know that's when they use them. Yeah, reusable. But since they made that change, I don't know if groups use them or not. They might.
I don't know. So I thought that was interesting. So check those out. And then the other thing when you get to Odessen, back that up. When you get to Odessen is they mentioned the light bridge to nowhere. Right here at the end of the platform, right behind where you zoom in, is somebody's jumped off. Right here, there's a light bridge, just a short light bridge up to a zone-in doorway. That's a shortcut to get into Gods from the Machine on the PTS that you'll be able to see and check out and play with. They'll be adding more things to the PTS as well, but that's the first thing that's going to go on the PTS is the Gods from the Machine update. So get in there, test it, check it out, break it, submit your bug reports. That's the value that we can contribute to get this out the door. All right.
He also said when he was talking about the vendor that's going to sell mods and the components, he did say if you really wanted to get in and min-max it, but then he said although it's really not going to make a difference until you're pushing content that requires the max level of gear.
All my gear is max gear.
Oh my god.
Ka-chow.
But yes, so like if you're still 246 248 gear, I'm just hearing you don't have to worry a lot about your secondary stats.
Right.
But anyway.
Right.
I mean, if you're DPS, you do want to have the right amount of accuracy.
Yes. And that is 110% on your tech accuracy, not 109.99. We had this long discussion in our guild Discord earlier this week. So there's a way with the current augments that you can get to 109.99. And if you do that, there is a chance that you can have abilities fail. And if one of those abilities is an interrupt that's critical to a nightmare progression fight, that's a bad thing to have happen. So you need to be at 110. So you can't do 109.99. You can't do 734 or whatever it was that was just below. Anyway, digression. Let's talk about armor. Let's talk about Masterwork. Masterwork armor tier 5. I don't know why they gave it a new name that was Masterwork. I mean, it's just tier 5. I mean, if you give it a name, then when you do tier 6, then you're going to have to say like Super Masterwork. And then tier 7 is going to be Ultra Super Masterwork. So just call it tier 5.
I think because it's associated with master mode.
Yeah, but still, then the next op is going to come out in 6.0, and it's going to be story mode, and it's going to require Masterwork armor. It's going to require tier 5 to do that operation. Then it's not going to be Masterwork anymore. So I think names are tricky because you don't want to give everything.
I think you're wrong. You're just wrong.
I hear you saying that. and I will refrain.
Storywork armor.
Storywork armor. Storywork. Anyway,
Hard work armor.
tier 5 is eye level 252 and eye level 258. So 252 is the purple armor and 258 is the gold armor that you'll be getting at this tier 5 level. Same general stat breakdown as previous tiers in terms of stat ratios. So there won't be a whole bunch of difference in ratios. You won't suddenly be getting twice the crit and, you know, half the alacrity and screwing everything up. So same sets of ratios. You can sort of expect that it's going to scale in that way. How do you get that armor? Sima, how do I get my tier 5 armor? And don't call it Masterwork.
Well, you buy it from people who got it, who were crafting it because they got the drops when they went and did master mode.
Yes. Yeah, so this looked interesting to me, and I didn't think about this until just now, but crafting becoming important from at least from this small perspective is nice. That's a nice little perk for the crafters, for the people that care about crafting and want to craft this stuff and want to provide that service and like doing that and maybe want to even make a little bit of money off of it, although that's going to be difficult because the materials are going to be very rare, but crafting matters. So that's kind of cool. I also liked that you're just going to go and get the schematics from the trainer. So there's not like go run master mode to even get the schematics, for one. For two, when you craft it, if you do get the materials, which are going to be very hard to get, we'll get to that in a second, but when you do get the materials and you have the schematic and you craft it up, it's bind on equip. So you can put it on the GTN, you can make it and you can give it to your friends. You can get the materials for them, make it and give it back to them. You can get the materials from them, make it, and then bind it to yourself and wear it and put them on ignore. You can, but the point of it being bind on equip is nice. That makes crafting matter, and it also makes it so crafters can be a thing and not everybody has to be a crafter. So there's that. Are you going to be revving up the crafting engine for this, Sima?
I don't think so. I think I'm going to be revving up the shopping engine.
I think the biggest problem is going to be getting these materials. Now, I wasn't clear if it was one material that drops from these multiple places, you know, like a new charged matter transubstantiator, or, you know, whatever the new thing that they're going to add, or if it was different materials from a couple of these places and you had to have some of each of them that you would need to put together. Did you?
I'm guessing that it's going to be some of each of them that you have to put together.
Yikes. I sort of...
Well, I think, yikes. I'm going by the latest changes to Conquest where they made war supplies have like 5 mats.
But that would mean, so if it's going to be a new purple exotic material or a couple purple exotic materials, the problem that they have is they need a way for PvPers to get those materials without having to run Gods from the Machine. So I could see at most there being 2 to 3. So you could require everyone to do Conquest, although even that's a little bit harsh. You can require, and I expect them to potentially require everybody to do OSIS dailies. But then you have to do either PvP or Gods from the Machine to get those materials. There has to be a way for ranked PvPers to get those materials without having to do Gods from the Machine. That's just been part of the game design.
Yeah, you're right. So like there's going to be a purple thing that you can get from ranked PvP, large target conquest, and master mode ops, maybe?
Maybe. So maybe there's going to be 2 things. Yeah, I think it still could only be one thing, but there may be 2 things, like an OSIS thing
it
and
might
a
right,
and then an elite thing.
or three things, like one
Could be
thing
3.
that can come from crew skills, a different thing that comes from the OSIS dailies, and then one thing that comes from, you know, the high endeavors.
The thing I think that's going to come from crew skills is going to be just a new high-end assembly component that you'll just assemble from other stuff. So I'm not all worried about that. And then they said, okay, so one way you're going to need to get these things is to get those drops from the Gods from the Machine bosses, give them to a crafter, and the crafter will craft up this 252 armor for you. It's 258 armor. The other way you can get it is you can get BOP versions of this armor, and it's set bonus armor, you can get it from a special vendor, and you need to pay for that special armor with these Masterwork shards. It's a currency. And it's going to be slow, but you're going to be able to grind out Masterwork shards week to week, and it's going to be sort of capped by week. But there will be a way for you not to have to do ranked PvP or Master Mode Gods from the Machine and still get the armor. That's the way I read all of this in this second bind on pickup way of getting the stuff. Does that sound right to you, Sima?
Yes. Yes. Right about here is where my eyes start rolling back in my head.
Go and make another sandwich.
Yeah.
You could open like 1 billion command crates and get enough Masterwork shards to get a piece of armor. You can. It sounded like the World Boss Weekly will give you some master armor and the Masterwork shards, and potentially get you the material for the or actual drops, BOP drops off the world bosses. It sounded like the world bosses were pretty significant. So, and in what you would be getting off the world bosses. So check those out when those hit the PTS. And then you could also turn in, it's the way they phrased it, it sounded like you could turn in some ungodly amount of unassembled components and you would get a Masterwork shard. So like if you had 10,000, unassembled component, that's not even that much. You've got 100,000 unassembled components. Maybe you can get one, piece of 258 armor out of it, something like that.
And then the cost goes up after you buy one.
Within a week is what it sounded like. So yes.
Yeah, within a week, right.
So again, everything there's sort of gated by either a weekly mission or turning in some number of components within a week, and then the second time you try to do it, it's like 10 times that number of components. It's all designed to be, if you really want the armor, you should be doing Master Mode Gods from the Machine. That's how you get it.
Right.
If you want to do it the slow way, there is a way to do it the slow way as well. They want to certainly reward people that are doing the Master Mode progression, which I think is completely valid and
right
and a good way to handle it. That's how RPGs work. So, thumbs up. So, what else did they talk about, Sima? Guild improvements. Hey, we've got a guild. We've got a couple guilds.
Yes, we do.
So this is relevant to my interests. Tell me about the guild updates, Sima.
Well, they're adding.
Let me type Sima's name next to this in the notes. Sima has to talk about this.
It centers around adding features. One being progression. So now the guild itself can progress through levels, and then there's guild perks that you'll be able to buy with a guild currency, and the guild currency you earn by progressing through the levels. Sounds like it's a whole little system.
Yeah.
It might be fine. It might be fun. I don't know.
There's Sima's assessment for all of you. It might be fine. I don't know.
Well, I mean, when I log in,
I picked up a book at Barnes & Noble,
and
I flipped open the front cover, and it showed like the endorsements from people, and it said Sima T Witch. It might be fine. I don't know. And then I was like, oh, I got to buy this book.
That's my professional critique.
Yes. No, but I get what you're saying.
It isn't something I've been longing for, in other words. So maybe it'll be like when they first announced Conquest, I didn't know what I thought about that either. So maybe I've been in other games where there was guild progression, and yeah, it's a thing. It happens over time, and then it's done. And
yes. So I'm less interested in the guild levels and the guild progression, because I agree, Sima. It's going to be like, yada, do that thing, get the guild progression, and then it's done, and you never think about it again. And a couple of months from now, it will not matter. It's like getting to social 10 or whatever on your character, or light 5.
Right.
I'm at light 5. Who cares? It hasn't mattered in 5 years. Legacy rank 50. Yes, Eric, a couple of us in the game have legacy rank 50. And now it doesn't matter at all. So I agree. The guild progression seems, I'm not as interested in that. Once you get to the top level of guild progression, this perk system, mildly interested. What I was concerned about with the guild progression, given that we run the guild, you, me, and Marcus, and our officer team, Corley, who's in the chat room, Apples. Hey, Apples, how was the hockey?
And Corley and Dent.
And Corley and Dent. This is a job, so now they just created a job. So as long as it's something that it's easy for us to manage and keep up with, if there's sort of a queue system, so that as we slot the perks, and it's not like running out and then people, they last 3 days. So every 3 days, someone pipes up in guild Discord and says, once again, the AIE officers suck and aren't doing their job because it just ran out and it's been out for 5 minutes. What the hell are you doing? Not that anybody in our guild is going to do this, but that happens in guilds. And then now you've sort of made a thing, and it's a little bit of a source of friction. So hopefully it's easy to manage. They talked about a couple of ways that the perks could have impact, and one of them was on how Conquest works. So when they got into this, they started to talk about how they're going to try to make Conquest objectives more consistent from week to week and not have a lot of change, but allow you to use maybe special kinds of guild perks. So if you're a PvP guild, you could install a PvP guild perk that said, we're going to do PvP Conquest, and that's going to be the perk that we're going to use this week. Oh, okay, well, that's interesting. And now you'll get new Conquest objectives associated around PvP or GSF or crafting or whatever you want to do. All right.
Yeah.
Still, it remains to be seen how it's going to work, what it's going to cost, how it impacts this being slotted via the guild ship, how it impacts having to unlock what on the guild ship needs to be unlocked, because our guild ships years later now still aren't unlocked 100% because we don't focus on trying to go off and get those encryptions and stuff, and it costs millions and millions of credits, and we don't have that big a guild. We might, and we have 2 guilds, so we always do things on the Republic side and on the Imperial side. So we sort of have like both guild ships about a third or half unlocked on each side.
Yeah.
Is that
right.
Is that going to be bad for us? Are we going to be in a bad position now because we're managing 2 guilds? I don't know. Maybe. And are we going to have to unlock both guild ships to 100%? Maybe. Is that going to be an expensive prospect? Maybe.
And I mean, speaking of Conquest 2, they said there's going to be less emphasis on daily repeatable objectives, because then there'll be less pressure on people to, like if you miss a day, then you can't do that objective. I mean, you've lost those points. You can't recover them. Pardon me. But I'm a little bit nervous about that because, I mean, yes, I agree that's bad and could use some change, but I'm nervous because how are they going to change it? Like I like the fact that I can log in and do rampages every day.
Yeah.
If they make it so that rampages are a weekly objective, what form is that going to take?
I do those repeatable dailies more than any other of the Conquest objectives.
Yeah, so do
these
I.
days.
Yeah.
So this might be a
the
thing
ops
that
ones and the daily. Yeah.
Yeah, we should maybe check it out on the PTS as soon as it pops up and write our strongly worded letters.
Yes. Yes.
I will be handwriting a strongly worded letter and sealing it with wax and sending it to Keith. Dear Keith, my good man, I am going to, I'm going to open up AIM and message him about it. Because if it breaks the way, a lot of us are doing Conquest right now, and it's going to make it, where you're going to have to like do infinitely repeatable of for 300 conquests, instead of getting like 2,000 conquests for Rampage rank 3 of killing 150 things on Iocath or whatever, now for every 50 you kill, you get 100 conquest points. So you have to spend like 5 hours just grinding over and over to get the same amount of points. But you could do it. So in theory, you could do it infinitely. But within a 24-hour day, you're still only going to get 4,000 conquest points. That's going to be a bad experience. I'm not going to want to do that.
Yeah. So we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah, we'll see how that turns out. They also talked about a couple other guild updates. New guild landing page sounds nice. So Marcus, who's always very excited, if you have ever listened to the Working Class Nerds podcast, Marcus is another officer of ours. He's always very excited about any of the updates. And he's excited about the guild updates in general, so we posted some notes back and forth. But I did have to say that a lot of what was in here, especially around guild management, I'm looking at my notes as I was listening to the stream and I was typing things down. And I think next to all of them, so landing page, I said mildly interesting. And then against every other one of these bullets, logging, guild mail, banned by legacy, and more guild ranks, I put meh. Not that it's bad. These all seem like perfectly fine, but nothing that we needed or wanted or probably will ever use. So logging, that will be mild. Maybe that's even mildly interesting. We can look back last week and see that BCAV and Zen and Sakic did awesome sort of driving conquest for us. But we already knew that. We know what's going on, and we're not having some guilds do have like conquest contests, and then it's important to see what happened last week in those logs. For us, meh. Guild mail. Do I want to send an in-game mail to every guildie in the guild? No, I'm not going to do that. In fact, I'm going to ask that none of our officers ever do that, because we're on Imperial and Republic side. We're all on lots of different alts. We want people to be watching Discord because that's the way we run our guild. So that's my view on that one. Banned by legacy. We haven't banned anybody in years now. So again, it's probably useful. It's probably a good feature, but for us, it's a meh. More ranks, don't need them. Guild inspect, so I can see somebody else's guild. Meh. I mean, I haven't desired to do that. Maybe that's interesting. Maybe people inspecting our guild and finding out more about our guild is interesting. Maybe we can put a Star Wars Escape podcast, SWTOR Escape podcast, and a Working Class Nerds. Come listen to us in our guild info. Maybe that'll be interesting, but I don't know. What do you think of these, Sima?
I had a similar reaction. I just will say that maybe we'll find in the future that we use the log function more than we thought we would, just because we dream up, we start looking up things and we go, oh, another thing we could look up would be this, or blah, 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 blah. I mean, we've gotten used to not really having very useful logs for many years, so maybe that's why we feel we don't need them. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, I was curious about the landing page. I mean, is that something that people that are not in the guild would be able to see? Because I missed that part of it.
Good question. No, I think you're right. I think there's two things. So I think there's a landing page where you can see everything about your guild at a glance, like how many members. I think there's that kind of stuff. There's another thing. The guild inspect is the second part of that. So guild inspect.
The guild inspect is the little blurb people can see about your guild.
So you can give sort of like an external message of the day.
Yeah, they didn't. Zen's asking about sort character by name. They hadn't really talked about anything like that.
They did not mention that, for one.
Anything with any utility other than the logs, I guess.
And they did not mention anything about guild ship keys.
Yeah, no, they did not.
So this is it right here. This is the guild ship key interface. So see, there's 95 pages. So say Zen. Zen says, Max, I'd like to do some decorating on the guild ship. Can you give me a gold key so I can decorate in the guild ship? This is what I have to do. 95 pages. Okay, page 1. These are all the guild keys. So at least I can skip past the guild. Okay, so here's the bronze keys, the people that don't yet have guild keys, starting on page 3. Page 3. Is Zen on this page? No order. There's no, it's completely unordered. There's no way for me to order this. Okay, I'm going to look through 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. 10 names out of page 3 out of 95. Okay, no Zen on that page. All right, here's the next one.
Zen says he'd like to do some decorating on the guild ship.
Negative Ghostwriter, the pattern is full. I will, and I did this earlier. Anyone in the guild can ask me for a guild key. It takes me literally 10 minutes to page through every. I tried to invent ways where I cut the names out and I did OCR to try to figure out where the names fell. I tried to figure out if it was join order. I tried to figure out if it was login order. I can't figure it out. There's no way. I have to physically page through 95 pages and hope that as fast as I can page through and look at these. And look at, here's the thing that bugs me the worst. See the last name on the page? So down here, there's this guildie Felix, right? But if I'm hovering over the page next button, because I have to go through all 95 of these pages, it covers up the last name. So I can't just stare at it and click through, because even if I get through all the pages, I'm never seeing the last person on the page, and I could have skipped it. So I have to page to the next one, move the mouse.
Like maybe
page to the next
Zen
one
was on page 4.
Mouse. It's the worst thing ever. Just so you know. So there you go.
Front.
Okay. Enough of that. Back to what I was saying. So they didn't mention that. They didn't mention that they were fixing that or not.
Yes.
Again, where is my parchment?
What other things didn't they mention?
Martha,
Let's talk about some other things.
Where's my parchment? I need to scribe a strongly worded letter to Keith. Keith, my good man. This is terrible. No, okay. So okay. So that aside, done with that. This which at first I was like, okay, PvP challenges, guild versus guild, mildly interesting. And then they went into detail on this PvP challenges, and once they said this also works for groups that aren't guild groups or groups within a guild challenging each other to do these kinds of things, all of a sudden, ding, 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 this became one of the most interesting things to me out of this update. And I get that it's still PvP, and we don't PvP in a lot, even just, do dueling tournaments within our guild, and we did that fun little thing in our Rishi Stronghold, but it opens up a whole new element of gameplay for our guild, and I think for casual players and casual guilds, in a really new and unique way that we can take advantage of. So let me explain what this is, because now I just sort of told you why I liked it and I didn't tell you what it was at first. For Arena, War Zones, and GSF, you can put together a group and challenge another group, and then the two groups go into a little bit of a lobby, and you say, what are you going to do? Are you going to do an arena? You're going to do a war zone? And if you're going to do a war zone, which war zone are you going to do? Which war zone do you want to do? Or do you want to do GSF? So
yeah, that's pretty awesome.
We could get a mandatory fun night for our guild, a Tuesday night, and we can say, okay, I know GSF is hard, and there's really no good way to just learn GSF. We're going to do GSF tonight. But how we're going to do it is we're going to start a match with GSF with half the guild on one side and half the guild on the other side, and we're going to start the GSF match, and everybody's just going to chill. And now we're going to meet in the middle. Nobody's going to shoot each other to start, but we're going to show you the mechanics, and we're going to teach you, okay, watch my ship, watch what I'm doing, zoom in here. Now you try it, hit E so you can target me. Now you get, okay, so you know how to use, if we can pause a GSF match like that, and everybody gets on a satellite and see how it gets captured and how it gets defended and what the satellites look like, that's awesome in my view. That opens up a whole new way to do GSF. It opens up a whole new way to do war zones.
Yeah, it does really.
Hutball. We can all get into the Vanden Hutball arena and check out the arena and walk around and see what it looks like and see what the grapple points do and see what the traps look like. Because if you try to do that in live war zones, you have to basically play the war zone like a dozen times, because the whole time you try to figure out where one of the launch pads is going to send you to, somebody kills you and then you're dead and you didn't get to see it. All right. And I'm going to queue up again. And I'm going to get back in there. I'm going to try to see what this thing... Oh, I'm dead again. Guess what? I'm dead. And now I'm dead. So this... This gets really amazing. What are you laughing at me, or are you laughing at the chat room, or what do you think of this, Sima?
No, I was laughing at your portrayal of PvP.
No, that's how PvP works. But you do. So you
I know.
you queue up over and over and over again, and you learn it, and you get good, and get good noob is a real thing. Just do it over and over again, and you'll get good. But people that are casual and are like intimidated by that aren't going to do that. They aren't going to queue up 12 times and get shot in the face.
Right.
This allows us to have a guild night where we can say, all right, for the next 10 minutes, I promise I won't shoot you in the face. After that, I'm probably going to shoot you in the face. but we'll take the next 10 minutes for me not shooting you in the face, where we can all get in there and we can check it out and we can have fun and we can see what it looks like and see what it's like to plant a bomb on the door in
like, what do you actually click on?
Yeah.
Like, how do you actually throw the hut ball?
Yeah,
Whatever you're
check out here. Yeah, here the thing popped up on your bar. Okay, now everybody pause. I'm gonna pass the hut ball to you. Catch it. See what it looks like on your bar. Take a second to keybind that. Oh, you can keybind this pop-up extra action bar? Yes, you can. Oh, that's really interesting. That's good information that I could have used yesterday when I was getting shot in the face. and people were just saying, "Get good, noob. Why didn't you pass, idiot?" That's why I didn't pass, because nobody said, "This is what it looks like. This is what you can do." So yeah, this is great.
What is pass?
This is really, really. This became one of my favorite things of the night. So yes, or the afternoon, or whatever it was. Do you agree that I am brilliant, Sima? And
I totally agree that you're brilliant.
All right, so that was that. So keep an eye out for that. Let's definitely test the heck out of this to make sure it works really well and it does what we want it to do, and it's going to work well for these kinds of things we're going to want to do for the game. The other parts where we can challenge another guild and we can track the stats, so Leet Dudes Guild can tell us how awesome they are compared to how sucky we are. I'm not all that interested in that. So that I don't think I'm going to turn on a tracked stat match against Leet Dudes. But the other part where we can set up these guild nights, I'm pretty excited about that. On to Osis. So I know you've probably been reading comic books nonstop for the last couple of weeks to brush up on Osis, Sima. Tell me about the history of Osis. What's this planet of Osis?
Well, I mean, I know pretty much what everyone else knows. I have not been catching up with the comic books, but this part right here is, probably what I'm looking forward to the most. It's a new daily area. It's going to have separate missions between Imp and Pub, which I mean, all the daily areas do that. It's 10-ish missions, which is a lot of missions.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not
Dailies.
rotating like IOCAST, so I guess they'll all be there dailies, yeah. There's a new rep, which rep is a little bit like what we were talking about later, like you get it to max and then you forget about it, but still something.
It's a progression
is
thing.
always good.
It'll gate things for a little while, and that's good for new content.
I think it's really interesting that they say they're going to have 3 new Datacrons.
Yeah. Right.
Would it be bad of me to hope they're really challenging? Because I always enjoyed that. Not that I was super good at it, but I always enjoyed it trying.
It's good with a group, but yeah, I agree. Them being a challenge, if they're just sitting there as soon as you zone in, that would be pretty boring. If they're really challenging and we can do them as a group and it's once per legacy, then yeah, that actually sounds pretty fun. You're right.
I'm less excited about two world bosses only because the whole world boss thing in this game is a little anxiety provoking for me. I don't like the whole, you
Mm,
know, our group trying to beat out the other group to get the tag. It just isn't not a fun activity for me. So if it's going to turn out that they're up enough that you can kill them pretty much when you feel like it, then I'll be excited about it.
that's an interesting point. I was actually really excited about the world bosses, but now that you bring that up, and especially because they're going to be dropping good things, um, now I'm sad. Because you're right. If they're dropping two,
My work here is done.
if they're dropping, you know, those Masterwork shards, or they're dropping bind on equip 252, 258 gear, then they're going to be farmed to no end. I mean, even if you can only get that once a week, what I'm betting, because it drops the 252 gear, is my bet was that they're instanced and you can only do them once per week, and there's lockout. Like
If they're instance, that would be awesome.
like
I
the
just
the the colossal monolith, or the world breaker, whichever the one is instanced on Ziost.
yeah.
I if it's, you know, that would be interesting. Then that would be relevant to my
But I
interests.
mean, the word world and world
World
boss
boss,
kind of
yeah.
means they're out in the world.
Yeah, then I mean it's not like a lair boss or a raid, you know, a one boss raid boss. World
Yeah.
boss does sound like it's out in the world. But then if you could farm it infinitely for 252 gear, that would be weird. So
Yeah.
so that's weird. We're gonna have to see. Yeah, we're gonna have to see and get our quills and inkwells ready for that one too. If they should be doing something different.
Yes.
And how about this next bullet point? What do you think of that, Sima?
Yeah, I don't even get it. Secret droid.
Secret droid and macro binoculars coming back. My
Oh, they are.
my comment on that was
I missed
lol.
that. Yeah.
LOL. I mean, okay, maybe they're gonna do something. I'm glad they didn't like just completely forget about it. And if they could fix it so it's not mind numbing and and boring and boring me with its boringness, then maybe. But to toss it in there and say, hey, and we're gonna throw in some secret droids, I was like, lol, whatever. I guess fine, sure. You want to do that?
Yeah, well, I mean, they usually do. Like IOCAF has that
Well, I mean,
uh,
I get that it was like
at
a
least one
one-off
quest where you have to use the
thing.
macro
Yeah,
binoc.
IOCAth had like the one achievement that you went and like saw the sights or whatever. But secret droid, where you got to like run around with the secret droid thing, yeah, I'm gonna do that like once.
Yeah. I can remember doing it on McCab,
Yeah,
and yeah,
there's still
I do
there's
not
still things I haven't
I
done
do
with
not
the
go back
secret
there.
droid. You can like dig up a
Yeah,
whole
me
bunch of
too.
parts to assemble with the secret droid to assemble a special speeder that I've never done. But this last one I liked. There's a ton of stronghold decorations that you can basically unlock. So it sounded like, yeah, I don't know. You're probably going to dig some up with the secret droid. There's probably going to be like achievements. There's probably going to be like discovery. There's probably going to be like kill this world boss and you get a deco. It sounded like there was tons of decos spread all around in lots of different ways to unlock them and get them. I liked that.
I think that I'm okay with that. Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that
in
was
fact,
cool.
I think they should do that all over the galaxy.
They should, and that's a great way to revitalize all of the old planets and all of the old content.
Yeah.
And secret, you want to make Secret Droid interesting? Make some interesting things that it could dig up on any planet anywhere. And then
And they
maybe
have
I would,
added a lot of decos to old content. They have done that. I'm just
yeah,
saying I
keep
would love
running
more.
flashpoints. What flashpoint did we run? First of all, why did we run a flashpoint last week? And second,
We had a goal in
Oh,
mind.
it was for
I forgot
HK.
what it was.
it was for HK. We had to run
Oh,
Maelstrom
right,
Prison, and
right.
we had
Yeah.
to run
Oh, I just said that.
False Emperor. And then when we ran Maelstrom Prison, we got to the end in story. We ran it in story mode, so it was 4 of us into 248 gear with the droids. So it was all 4 of us in full 248 in story mode with the 4 droids, destroying that place. That was pretty funny.
I think
one.
in a way the droids kind of slow you down, right? Because they engage and you're
Yeah,
trying to
they
run
did. We were
through
just
all
like
the.
trying to run past everything, and the droids were like back killing things, and we were like already on the first boss, and they were back by the entrance killing the trash. But they like killed all the trash.
Right.
Anyway, we got
Well,
to
we'd
the
have to wait for them to finish
yeah,
if we
like
were at an elevator or
come on, you're
something.
so slow. Yeah, we couldn't click the elevator buttons because they were still engaged in combat. Not that they were gonna ever die; they would kill everything still anyway. We just had to wait the 15 seconds. But yeah, we got a deco at the end. We completed the place, and I got a deco that I hadn't gotten before. Not like I hadn't cleared that place like 50 times before, but they have been adding some of those things in, so that was nice.
Yeah. Yeah, which I like.
All right.
And I like, maybe they'll add some to the the CXP caches too. Like they've been adding pets to them. I mean,
I have too many of those pets, and I keep every single one for whatever reason out of command crates. I don't know why I do, but I have a million of them. So next guild party, guess what you guys are getting? Anyway.
a bunch of pets that you also already have.
That you also already have. And blue milk and trilled Corellian cocktails. Don't drink it all in one go. Anyway, we are 70 minutes into this podcast. Longest podcast we have done. All right.
In a while.
We got a couple more slides. Oh, geez. I'm on slide 17 of 28. What do I have? No, these are just pictures. So this is the story stuff.
The next big chunk is the story stuff. And we could basically say that there is going to be story. The story portions are not going to be on the PTS, never going to be on the PTS. So
yeah. In fact,
yeah.
Why don't we stop here? Why don't we?
Yeah.
In fact, why don't we talk a little bit about some of it next week, and maybe even while we're getting back to our Jedi Knight
that's a good
story.
idea. We'll talk about it
because they did talk about what companions are coming back. They talked about a little bit more about what the story is going to entail, and there are some interesting things that I liked.
Some of the characters are going to be.
They introduced the new characters that I liked. They they trolled us in the chat room when they introduced Melora and said, it's the new character starts with an M. Somebody coming back from the past. M-A-L. It's not Malgus. Ha ha. Gotcha. So that was,
They're so bad.
So they introduced those characters. They talked about what companions are coming back. So maybe we'll talk about that next week, and if what interests us out of that. And then they talked a little bit about how that story is going to work. And there's some interesting parts that I liked. That saboteur versus loyalist and what that means and what the differences are going to be there. So, all right, so let's save that to last week. But there's one thing I still wanted to get to. So up on my screen is a picture of Eric and Charles. And while I was watching the stream, Sima opened up a console window on her Linux console. and echo texted me, what's up with Charles's pointy beard?
Yeah, it's so pointy.
So you're gonna need to explain
Why is
that.
it so pointy? I can't explain it. I want to know what's up. I don't know why someone has a pointy beard like that.
Well, you used to not
Perhaps
know.
you can answer the question. Well, I mean, I googled it. I googled pointy beards, and actually, it's a thing. There are styles of beards.
This shows up in a personal Discord message to me, just randomly from Sima, and I'm like, why the hell did she send me this? I don't know.
Because that was one of the guys from the beard site that I found. Apparently it's a whole thing. You can go to websites and they'll tell you what kind of beards are good for you, the shape of your head and how to groom them. And
Sima was quite just her day was
even
disrupted
that guy,
by Charles's beard.
Even that guy who was wearing a pointed beard, they don't really call them pointy beards, but they call them pointed beards, was still not as pointed as Charles's.
No, it's
That's
yes.
not a good picture. It doesn't show it. It came to like a little point.
Yeah.
Like it was, see, even his is like kind of sawed off at the bottom.
It's Sima said it's like, you know, like someone in grade school got a crayon and drew a picture of a devil.
No,
And
I did not say
made the-
that.
made
Oh,
the-
I did say
you
that. You're
did
right.
say that. did the
I did say that.
did the marker over a picture of Charles and did the
No,
pointy beard and the
But I didn't
little
say it
devil
about the
horns
crayon. I just meant like it's so pointy. It's like a child's, idea of the devil with the,
with
the
pointy beard.
Halloween devil with the pointy beard. Yeah.
Yes. Anyways, oh, see, look, I logged out of the game. We've been chatting so long. Anyways, the summary that I would say is good job on the stream. Tons of content. As you see,
Yeah.
you blew out our
Yeah.
podcast tonight. I really appreciate you guys doing that. Let's have more of that. They'd said they're going to have another roadmap closer to the end of the year that's going to talk about 6.0. They're going to do blog posts that summarize the things that are coming as they get the details nailed down. They're going to put most of this, but not the story, on the PTS. So look forward to getting in there and testing it and providing feedback. Great job, guys. And I loved how they were having fun on the stream. It was really fun for me to
Yeah.
see that because I'm having fun in the game. So
Yeah.
cool.
Don't be
cool,
misled
cool.
by our reactions to some of the guild stuff. It's just we loved this live stream and we loved all the info, and
Yeah.
I'm excited about the future.
Yes, I'm excited about the future too. And I'm excited to have a fun stream loaded with content that I can poke fun at.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so put it,
And Swedish fish.
and Swedish fish floating around, and Matt's like in the middle of a live stream with 2,500 people watching. Matt's like, eat more Swedish fish. He's like shoving it in Charles. Charles is like, I guess I'm picking up Swedish fish in the middle of this giant stream. And like our corporate overlords are watching this because this is what we have to do. There's 2,500 people watching, but Matt needs to give me a Swedish fish, right? I know that was going through Charles's head, but I liked it. That was good. I appreciate that. All right.
Me too.
So I am going to wrap up the stream, our podcast for tonight, and go eat some Swedish fish. I would like to thank everyone for joining us, and I would like to say thank you to EPC 262, our droid, who is now going to jump on an airlock and broadcast this podcast to all of you. So thank you for keeping up with us on this podcast. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at MaxTheGray and at AIESima. And the reason we do this podcast is for all of you to come join us on the Starforge server in AIE, our guild. You can find more guild information for our guild at aie-guild.org. On that guild site, you can find our guild Discord. You can reach out to us in guild Discord, and we'll get you an invite to the guild. And if you know anyone else that should be listening to this podcast so they can come find us and join our guild, that's why we do this. Please reach out to them and send them our way. And with that, we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.